Well, Brother Graham back at you, here to tell you a few more ghost stories from Japan. As you know, a country as rich and old and steeped in history as Japan is, it has no stranger to tales of the spooky and bizarre. But there's a couple of off-the-beaten-path stories that I would like to share with you now. If you really want to dig in and find yourself some activity, you go to the famous spots. And some of the most famous spots here may not be where you expect. Have a look at some of the military bases that we have here in Japan. There are 3 of them that hold some extremely famous ghost stories, and I'm going to tell you some of them now. The first, U.S. Naval Station Yokosuka, Japan. The station up in Yokosuka has been used as a port and a naval facility for long before World War II. As you know, Japan is an island that was isolated for many years, and part of the reasons that it was helped was because of its very geography. Even though it's an island, it has very few shipping and landing-friendly places. One of those few is in Yokosuka, just south of the city of Yokohama. This place has been guarded well over the years, and the famous ghost story that comes out of that base is one that does not involve World War II soldiers, fighter planes, or battleships. In fact, just the opposite, which is what makes it so strange. On this base, if you drive around, you'll pass under a mountain. This tunnel that leads under the mountain is a one-way tunnel, very slow. It goes from Gridley Lane to Nimitz Boulevard, and is commonly known as Gridley Tunnel. Passing under a tunnel under the best of occasions is kind of a creepy experience, but this one has a reputation. I'd heard about this myself many years ago when I was living in that area. It seems that a common occurrence is if you drive through this tunnel late at night and look in your rearview mirror, people have seen an image of a samurai in full armor standing behind them. Usually outside the car. Thankfully on that one. The depictions of this samurai are always different. I mean, sometimes it's just a silhouette. Other times it's full, live and in color, just like looking at a person behind you. It has actually gotten to the point where people who have seen this samurai have wrecked their cars because it freaked them out so badly. Security personnel have confirmed this. They have responded to accidents outside of this tunnel early in the mornings, only to find that the driver said that they could have sworn they saw this ghostly samurai in their rearview mirror, and that's what caused them to crash. Now, there's not a whole lot of records kept about who this samurai could have been. This is an area, like I said, that was very old, closely guarded, and heavily populated back in the old days. So it really could have been anyone. It could have been a guard on duty, making sure that the ships that did come into the harbor were the right ones. Or it could just be a leftover from a battle. Wondering how the battle ended? We don't really know. Yet the stories about this abound, and if you ask around the base, especially to its security personnel, you're bound to get somebody who has at least heard of, or perhaps even seen this samurai. The best time to find him is late at night, between 1 and 3 o'clock in the morning, a witching hour here in Japan just like it is everywhere else. But particularly on nights when it's storming. So if you come here during the rainy season, June, July time frame, and you decide to take a drive through Yokosuka, keep checking your rearview mirror. There might be something more back there than what you think. Up next, Marine Corps Air Station Iwakuni, Japan. Most people who have been stationed in Japan have probably never even heard of this base. It's a small base tucked out in the rural areas of Yamaguchi Prefecture. Only a few thousand people stationed here. But this base has a very famous tale of a haunting. If you do an internet search, you're bound to come across this one. The base itself has a short history. It goes back to the Second World War. The most notable thing that ever happened on it is this is the base where the building still stands, where the plans for the attack on Pearl Harbor were drawn up. But what it's most famous for, as far as hauntings are concerned, is the legend of Barracks 1638, room 301. This is a room where a young Marine had apparently committed suicide, and reportedly, people who live in this barracks hear footsteps walking up and down the halls, feelings of being watched, and in room 301, if they look into the mirror late at night, when all the lights are off, they see the Marine staring back at them from deep inside the mirror. Well, there's only one problem with this story. Every time you look it up, the significant number that keeps coming up is Barracks 1638. 1638, over and over again, as a very important part of this story. The problem is, there is no Barracks 1638 on that base. And there never was. What this is, in my opinion, is probably just a grim fairy tale. In other words, it has a few kernels of truth to it, but mostly made up. However, it still serves a much larger and more important purpose. For one, it brings awareness to a very serious issue, and that is one of veteran suicide. As a veteran myself, I have been faced with this problem numerous times, and I can tell you once is enough. A Marine committing suicide on the base has probably happened. That I don't doubt. But it did not happen in a barracks that did not exist. Two, the other thing that it serves to do is it serves to remind us that even in today's high-tech world, there are still old inventions that fascinate us, and mirrors are one of them. A surprising little piece of technology has been around for a few hundred years now, and yet it still captures our imagination. For a very excellent piece on mirrors, old superstitions involving mirrors, and just how they play on our psyches, see my friend and mentor David Parr. He has a wonderful piece that he did that's very enlightening and entertaining at the same time, and I'll put it below in the comments section. So unfortunately, this tale, although important and famous, does not seem to be all that realistic. But that happens sometimes in the world of ghost stories. And last but not least, Naval Air Station Atsugi, Japan. Now this is an air station that has a long and very colorful history to it. It dates back prior to the Second World War. Some notable things about it is that it was the home of the U-2 plane that was flown by Gary Powers over Russia. It was also the duty station of a young Marine named Lee Harvey Oswald. And prior to all of that, it was also the station for many a kamikaze pilot. More recently, however, this base has a reputation for having a couple of really regular paranormal incidents. One of them is that of a Marine who was stationed on base who was killed in a car accident. A spectral figure of this Marine is constantly said to be checking out, wandering from building to building, trying to get inside buildings, kept trying to get inside rooms. Everything from a shade to an entire solid figure in old-fashioned uniform. Some of this has even been captured on security cameras. And the security personnel on board that base, if they've been there long enough, have seen some pretty weird things, usually involving this Marine. Although it's tucked away in the corner of Kanagawa Prefecture out in the suburbs, it's a larger base because it is an air station. And on the opposite side of the base is a hangar. This hangar is a modern-day hangar, but it was built directly on the same spot of an old-fashioned hangar back from the Second World War. This was a hangar that housed many a kamikaze pilot. These pilots stood on this hangar and crawled into their planes. It was the last time that most of them, or actually any of them, to my knowledge, had ever set foot on home soil. They went off and flew their missions, but unfortunately, of course, never came back. The old hangar was torn down to make way for a new one. But this new hangar, late at night, when all the lights are out and it's pitch dark and there's no activity, which is rare for a hangar on an air station, But when it does happen, people who walk through this hangar have a tendency of hearing noises, breathing, a few words here and there, but the most common occurrence reported was looking out into the darkest corners and shadows of this hangar and seeing multiple sets of glowing red eyes staring back at them. Now, if you know anything about Japanese folklore, there's a reason behind those red eyes, and I'll leave it to you to go ahead and look that up, and I think you'll like what you see. So for a more active and off-the-beaten-path way of checking out some haunts here in Japan, go to the military bases. Ask the security personnel. Many of them have seen some things that you and I might find surprising, especially if they've been there a while. Tell me what you see. If you were ever stationed in one of these spots and heard some of these tales, let me know what you heard about them. If you like the video, there will be more. And remember, so far I've only covered here on the mainland. I purposely left out the stories involving Okinawa because there are so many of them that frankly those are a story for another day and another video coming soon. If you like these videos and want to see some more and want to help me improve upon them, please let me know. Shoot me a message, leave me a comment, like me on Facebook, subscribe to my channel, and if you're so inclined, visit my Patreon account and see if you can help me out in that direction also. I will bring more to you as they become available. So, once again, hope you've enjoyed these tales. Come to Japan and check it out. Until next time, happy hunting.